We are.
Welcome, folks. Welcome to Prophecy Montana.
This is the prophecy update.
This is another prophecy update. We read out of the book, what's it called again?
Last Day Events.
Last Day Events by E.G. White. We're going to continue to do that and have commentary in between the reading as well. Ruth will be doing the reading. And how good of a reader are you?
She's the reader.
She's the reader.
She's a good reader.
Read a little bit.
Okay, well,
Keeps it interesting.
she's a way better reader than
Yeah,
me.
she is. And we only got a few little bit of time.
Yeah, and then the female voice thing, I think,
Yeah, I
helps
like
too,
the
so.
female voice.
All right, so go ahead and let's get started.
Okay, we're on page 127. It says, we cannot labor to please men who will use their influence to repress religious liberty and to set in operation oppressive measures to lead or to compel their fellow men to keep Sunday as the Sabbath. The first day of the week is not a day to be reverenced. It is a spurious Sabbath, and the members of the Lord's family cannot participate with the men who exalt this day and violate the law of God by trampling upon his true Sabbath. The people of God are not to vote to place such men in office, for when they do this, they are partakers with them of the sins which they commit while they're in office. That's a pretty solemn statement.
Yeah, that's huge.
If you vote for them, you're partakers with them of the sins which they commit in office. I do hope that the trumpet will give a certain sound in regard to this Sunday law movement. I think that it would be best if in our papers the subject of the perpetuity of the law of God were made a speciality. We should now be doing our very best to defeat this Sunday law. I've heard on newscasts recently people who think that we need to get more Christians into office so that we can legislate morality.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Sunday. I've seen so many that say that everyone needs to go to church on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that seems like the new thing that's going on. The separation of church and state is bull crud, and that isn't meant to be. That isn't what our forefathers wanted. When it is, because whenever church and state is together, then the persecution. I mean, we get force their dogmas, what they believe, and we know they're false. Mm-hmm. Their beliefs go from the Catholic Church. They all are basically based on Catholic teachings.
I just transcribed a pamphlet, and the title of the pamphlet was "How Did Sunday Become Our National Day of Worship?" And I've transcribed that into Word format. I'm going to break it up and use it in my emails. And it is amazing how subtle this took place. I lost my train of thought there. I was going to come up with something else after that. But anyway, that's the
Satan
the
knows
issue
how to
is-
use it. He knows he uses subtlety.
The point here with the relationship with government is this: Jesus never coerces anybody into anything.
No.
It is up to you. It is your choice.
Yes.
And if we choose a government that wishes to coerce people into something, it's satanic.
It's totally satanic.
Well, and this moral legislation has been going on for years.
Oh, yeah.
Let's look at a few things. Seatbelts, the seatbelt law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not we're allowed to smoke in the car with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it a good idea to smoke in the car with your kids?
Of course
No.
not.
I don't smoke. But to legislate it is another thing altogether, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they've started the ball rolling with all these things that sound good, like a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Well, statistically, it's more...
You're safer.
You're safer, right? So let's make people wear them, and let's make people stop talking on their phones. Let's make people stop doing this and to stop doing that. And we're getting used to this idea of this legislated morality.
Yeah.
But isn't it, laws are there and we are to obey the laws until they interfere with God's
That's
law?
right.
That's what Paul said.
And check this out. I wear my seatbelt, and I don't talk on my cell phone, and obviously I don't smoke in the car with my kids. I think they smoke in the car with me. But the point is that I do follow the laws of the land. Do I know where they're going, where they're headed? Yeah, I can see what's on the horizon. Nowhere are you going to hear us say to violate the laws of the land so long as they don't violate God's
And she's
law.
saying that knowing and seeing where this is going, should influence how we vote. Because if we want to give the gospel as much time as possible to be preached, we need to try and fend off these things that are going to bring an end to that.
Now,
Well,
on that subject, I do remember reading some other commentary on voting. She said that we should not be voting on the national level, and I can see good reason for that because we can get involved pretty deeply in politics and it can divide people. She said, but on the local level, we should try and vote in those who would uphold state constitutional law at the very minimum. And so I think we're better off with the local voting poll, but on national, I kind of think everything's rigged anymore.
It's all rigged.
yeah,
It's all
yeah.
rigged and it's evil. And I don't want to go by whichever president there is and their sins they do. Especially, it's rigged anyway. But yet I voted, so I'm backing them, even though it's rigged.
Mark Twain, I have a whole series of quotes from Mark Twain. I really appreciate his wit and insight. And one of my favorite quotes from him is, if our votes really mattered, they wouldn't let us do it.
Right? Exactly. That's exactly it.
Oh, that's so perfect. All right.
Well, let's go on. It says that the title here of this section is "The United States Will Pass a Sunday Law." When our nation shall so abjure the principles of its government as to enact a Sunday law, Protestantism will in this act join hands with popery. Protestants will throw their whole influence and strength on the side of the papacy. By a national act enforcing the false Sabbath, they will give life and vigor to the corrupt faith of Rome, reviving here tyranny and oppression of conscience. Sooner or later, Sunday laws will be passed. Soon the Sunday laws will be enforced, and men in positions of trust will be embittered against the little handful of God's commandment-keeping people. The prophecy of Revelation 13 declares that the power represented by the beast with lamb-like horns shall cause the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the papacy. They're symbolized by the beast like unto a leopard. This prophecy will be fulfilled when the United States shall enforce Sunday observance, which Rome claims as a special acknowledgement of her supremacy. Political corruption is destroying love of justice and regard for truth. And even in free America, rulers and legislators, in order to secure public favor, will yield to the popular demand for a law enforcing Sunday observance.
Hey, Ruth, can you read the date in which that was?
That was in 1911.
That she predicted that. Now, would that look possible to happen?
Not then, but it
Not
sure does
then.
now.
But it's happening right now.
Yeah, if we really doubt this, all you have to do, especially in the South portion of the United States, look up blue laws. They're on the books.
Oh, I got a better one than that. I just Googled Sunday law legislation, and I couldn't believe what popped up.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was Wikipedia explaining, almost in prophetic language,
Yeah.
how Sunday will be
And
enforced by
this
the Christian
is
nationalism.
not just going to be in this country. 25 years ago, I worked with an Englishman. We were talking about this very subject, and he said, whoa, in Great Britain right now, we have those laws in place that you cannot open your business on Sunday. But if you pay a fee, you are allowed to do so. How difficult is it going to be to switch that? No more fee.
Well, yeah, and Ellen White does talk about how the United States will lead off in this
Yes.
movement.
Yes.
And it will be a complete surrender.
But it's going to be worldwide.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's not
Europe-
going to be no negotiation about anything. It's going to be done.
Right.
Well, Europe has already kind of started to enforce it right now as we speak.
It's part of the environmental
Yes.
movement.
Yeah.
And that's
The
totally what they're
global
using
warming attitude is that, if you shut everything down one day a week, well, at least that day you're not polluting the air.
Yeah.
for. And we'll do it on the day that everyone has in common,
Well-
which is Sunday.
And like we were talking, Ricky, this is not about cleaning up the environment.
No.
This is not about keeping
It's
carbon
about
emissions
Satan
down.
and
know.
his agenda against God, his war against God.
But they get a lot of people who have no religious bent
Yeah.
with that.
I mean, how much brain energy does it world the oil industry, and say that all of a sudden they're just going to stop oil production and all is going to come to an end. right now, who's making record profits right now?
Yeah.
The oil industries, the pharmaceuticals, and all of these other mega corporations that are benefiting from all of these laws that are getting passed. And who's paying the bill? We are. We're the suckers. And the devil has gotten us to rally behind the efforts that actually wind up destroying us as a people.
So
It's brilliant.
Yep.
I got to say, he's brilliant.
So what I was going to say is there's two sides anymore. There's one side that's so far left, and then there's the other side that pretends to be religious, which is the Sunday keeping religion.
Well, I don't know if they're pretending,
are,
but they believe, but they just believe in forcing their beliefs.
But they're going to force
Yeah.
that day. And so for everybody, and it's a forcing, and that's all
God
we have.
does
That's our
not
choices
force.
now.
Yeah.
God
we
does
have.
not force us into
Yeah.
anything.
No.
All you have to do is go back and read Great Controversy. It's all right there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I believe a lot of the people have good intentions. I
Yes.
really, really, really
Yes.
do. But who was saying that the highway to hell is built by good intentions or something?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, the highway to hell is paved with good intentions.
Well, that's kind of what this next section addresses. She says arguments used by the Sunday law advocates. What kind of arguments are they putting forth? She says Satan puts his interpretation upon events, and they think, as he would have them think, that the calamities which fill the land are a result of Sunday breaking. Thinking to appease the wrath of God, these influential men make laws enforcing Sunday observance. This very class put forth the claim that the fast-spreading corruption is largely attributable to the desecration of the so-called Christian Sabbath, and that the enforcement of Sunday observance would greatly improve the morals of society. This claim is especially urged in America, where the doctrine of the true Sabbath has been most widely preached. We have a lot of crime in this country, and a lot of people are becoming alarmed by it. And that is going to be one of the influences that leads. It's like a pendulum swinging.
Yes, that's
It's going to
exactly
swing
what
back
it is.
toward law and order,
Yeah.
and eventually it'll go so far that they're trying to dictate, how you breathe.
Well, we're going to be charged, for what we breathe. You know that, right? That carbon tax.
Oh, yes.
But Ruth made a good point. Here's another one of those left-right pendulum swings. They have taken law out of the land, and now a cry has gone up to bring it back.
And that's exactly
Yes.
how Satan
Yes.
used it. I mean, that's
the
how
way he works.
Yes, he makes it so he'll take it to one extreme so it gets to where you won't tolerate it anymore. You'll do anything to get rid of that side. And
Yep.
That's because he doesn't care which ditch he has you in, as long as he doesn't keep you on the road to heaven.
yeah.
That slow trail.
That's right.
Straight and narrow.
The next section is Protestantism and Catholicism act in concert. Protestantism shall give the hand of fellowship to the Roman power. Then there will be a law against the Sabbath of God's creation, and then it is that God will do his strange work in the earth. How the Roman Church can clear herself from the charge of idolatry we cannot see. And this is the religion which Protestants are beginning to look upon with so much favor, and which will eventually be united with Protestantism. This union will not, however, be affected by a change in Catholicism, for Rome never changes. She claims infallibility. It is Protestantism that will change. The adoption of liberal ideas on its part will bring it where it can clasp the hand of Catholicism. The professed Protestant world will form a confederacy with the man of sin, and the church and the world will be in corrupt harmony. Romanism in the Old World and apostate Protestantism in the New will pursue a similar course toward those who honor all the divine precepts.
These are big things that she's saying. For her day to say this stuff now,
And they're coming true. They're so true to this day. I mean, when I was maybe, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, you'd read this and say, yeah, whatever. But it's happening now.
well, let's take some of these modern prophets nowadays that we hear. They'll say things like Donald Trump's going to be president again.
Yeah.
There's actually a pretty good chance of him becoming president, and that's not like groundbreaking prophetic news here. But when you're saying something that is like way off status quo, like unforeseeable in the near future, and then it comes to pass, you know it's from God then.
Amen. And
God is not going to give a prophecy like Elizabeth Taylor's going to get married again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times was she married?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
6
crazy.
or 7 anyway.
You know what I'm saying? And so some of these prophets are very questionable. It's almost like they're looking at things and they're testing the waters and they're going, okay, this might happen, and they give a prophecy of something that actually might happen.
I had a fellow friend who'd always, you have to see this one. I'm like, what did they say about the Sabbath? And they're like, oh no, didn't say anything about that, but Trump's going to be president. I'm like, okay, we know the mark of the beast is going to be Sunday sacredness. Why wouldn't God? Why? That's what they would be preaching. God would send that to a vision by, hey, instead of who's going to be president. You know?
I've heard a lot of people who, from other faiths, say that we talk way too much about the Sabbath. Well, the reason we do that is because it is the hinge.
Yes. It's very.
This
yes.
is what's going to divide the righteous from the unrighteous.
Yep.
Well, if the issue was murder and all the Protestant churches thought murder was just okay, and I know he said not to kill, but I mean, it didn't really mind if you're mad at somebody. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I mean,
look
that
at how
would be the
the-
topic.
Look at how the attitude about adultery has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in my lifetime.
Oh boy.
When I was a child, divorced people were looked upon as
Down.
they had done
Yeah.
something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you can live with anybody you want to for 3 months or 6 months and go
I
on,
think-
move to the next person. I mean, our whole society's attitude toward the 10 Commandments and
Did
the
away with.
binding of them it's gone.
Yeah, look at honoring your mother and your father. I mean, that's a big one. Look at
Stealing.
stealing.
Nowadays, if it's less than $950 in a lot of places, you can do it every day.
Well, the Pope
Or
made it so it isn't
lying.
a crime.
Lying. All you have to do is watch a presidential debate. Oh my!
Well,
I
was
got
gonna
into
say
it that time.
is
Oh,
people,
you did it that time, Dave.
The people that go to church in the Adventist church and then they go to and it says Ellen G. White says that they're on enchanted grounds.
Of course they
It's
are.
like the lesson study this morning pointed out. You go into these areas where you shouldn't be, you will be corrupted by them.
Yeah. We were just
It's-
studying it earlier in our lesson.
There is a bewitching influence of some of these Sunday churches, and I've been to them. They're very contagious. When you walk inside of them, there's this spirit
Charismatic.
there's a lot of charisma. There's a spirit of brotherhood. There's
Dude, it's so
everybody's-
trippy. I've seen them where they breathe on people and they start falling down.
well, that's not most Sunday churches.
It's like, oh, geez.
I mean, you walk into most Sunday churches, and it's great fellowship. I mean, they're having.
Environment.
There is an influence there that can be contagious, and it can infect the minds of someone who's walking a holy life. And so that we're actually instructed to not to go to these places, but we're to call them out, not the other way around.
Yeah, because there's many people in Babylon, many of God's children who don't know any better of any of these things.
That's biblical.
And that's our whole job
Yeah.
is to get the message to
Come
them.
out for my people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's our call.
Do we have time for one more section?
Yes, we do.
This is called Sunday Laws Honor Rome. When the leading churches of the United States, uniting upon such points of doctrine as are held by them in common, shall influence the state to enforce their decrees and to sustain their institutions, then Protestant America will have formed an image of the Roman hierarchy, and in the infliction of civil penalties upon dissenters will inevitably result. The enforcement of Sunday keeping on the part of Protestant churches is an enforcement of the worship of the papacy. Enforcing a religious duty by secular power, the churches would themselves form an image to the beast. Hence, the enforcement of Sunday keeping in the United States would be an enforcement of the worship of the beast and his image. When Protestantism shall stretch her hand across the gulf to grasp the hand of the Roman power, when she shall reach over the abyss to clasp hands with spiritualism, When under the influence of this threefold union, our country shall repudiate every principle of its constitution as a Protestant and Republican government, and shall make provision for the propagation of papal falsehoods and delusions, then we may know that the time has come for the marvelous working of Satan, and that the end is near.
What's going on right now? I mean, this is coming true right before our eyes. Big time. And if no one can see it, they're totally blind, and they choose to be blind because it's right there at our face.
But so many people don't know to be alarmed about it. And that's where our message is so important. We need to get the message out that there is a conspiracy, and it's Satan's conspiracy, and he's going to deceive the very elect if it's possible. He is so intent on making people believe a lie.
Yes,
It's very tricky. It's very tricky. I remember before the 2020 election, I was caught up in talk radio when Rush was still alive, and I never liked Hannity, but I'd listen to Rush and I'd listen to Dr. Savage and all these other guys, and they'd go on these rants, and you know, they get you all emotionally pumped, you know, and you're like, yeah, we need to take our country back, you know, and you get wrapped up, and it's very easy to do, and you get outraged by all of the nonsense that's going on out there, and
In other words, sidetracked, so your focus is not on Christ.
Exactly. Satan has thousands of different ways that he gets us. I
and
mean,
it doesn't matter which one gets you.
yeah, and it's like we have to be on our guard continuously, or else he's going to get us.
you know, this Texas gun confiscation is no small thing. Going door to door, and we know the school shootings are fueling this emotional response by the people, and the authorities are already poised and ready to go. Now as Christians, we know we're not going to shoot our way out of trouble that's coming. We have to trust in Jesus, and we have to put all our cares at the cross. But as a waypoint and where we're at in the scope of time, this is an important thing for people to look at.
Yeah, it's just another one of our freedoms that gets checked off.
Well, as soon as they take our guns, and again, I'll say it again, we're not shooting our way out of this, folks. This is only.
How about the word of speech, our freedom of speech? What about that?
Well, that goes right after the Second Amendment falls.
I mean, that's going right now.
That's already gone.
Because
yeah.
there's stuff on Facebook that
It's
I try
all but
to
gone.
religious, and they take it down.
Yes,
they throw me
yes,
in Facebook jail. I mean, I cannot. It's hard to preach the word, and it's going to be. We'll be outlaws for doing it.
Yeah, but we're so close to these things, these events coming to the fullness. I mean,
because they're in action
we
right
might
now.
even be within weeks, if not months, probably maybe a year or two. I don't know. We don't know.
We're
exact
close.
time, but
We're
so close.
God is holding back the winds. I mean, the COP28, it kind of went kind of sour in a little bit of ways. So I believe he's holding it back for us to get ready and
But
to get
the great
others.
controversy says the closing events are going to be very rapid.
And they will be very
And
rapid.
I think we're going to be astonished at how quickly it goes when it
Yes.
finally does.
Might catch a lot of people off guard.
It's
that's
going to
not
catch
ready.
a lot of people
That's what our
off
purpose
guard.
is here, is to raise awareness to people, not to make people scared. Because when we were reading Revelation, you know, one of the things that we noticed in Revelation was there's two groups of people. There's one group of people going, oh, the Lamb, you know, the wrath of the Lamb, and you know, hide us so the rocks don't fall on us, and it's all this doom and gloom. Then you get to the latter part of it, and it describes the reaction of the wicked to the second coming, or excuse me, the righteous. And the righteous are like,
Woohoo! That's our
you know,
Lord!
yeah.
We have waited for
You know,
him. There he is.
finally, here he comes, you know? And this ought to be good news.
It is
It
good
is.
news.
That's why we're saying it. We're not speaking doom and gloom. We're not preaching doom and gloom. We're preaching, look, the time is so
Let's
near.
meet our Lord.
We're
Let's
going
meet our
home.
Lord. Let's go home.
We're going home.
We're running out of time, and people need to understand the urgency of it.
We-
A lot of people, they just, you know, the world has gone on this way and nothing is going to happen. And, you know, the Bible predicted that would be the attitude. But time is short, and we need to be constantly looking to Jesus and asking, how can I witness? How can I
Amen.
use your Spirit in me to glorify you,
Yep.
so that people see you and are uplifted by that, drawn to you.
Yep.
Exactly. 100%. Well, what does the Bible say? in that day they will say, "Where's the promise of thy coming?" And they will begin to eat and drink with the drunkards. And so, there is a complacency, a spell, if you will, that Satan has put over the people, like Harry Potter's wand. What was it made from? The holly tree? The Hollywood tree, made to cast a spell of
The Hollywood is big time good
yeah,
at
but
that.
check this out. Especially the Hollywood wand was to cast a spell of hypnotism, was to hypnotize people.
Oh, what does movies and all that?
doing their
What
job.
do they do? Huh? They don't call it programming for a reason.
Changing the channels, going through the channels, channeling.
People are so alarmed by what's going on that they're looking for a way of escape, a way to escape the stress, the constant stress,
totally.
the noise, the chaos
Just tune
around
out.
them. And they're looking for anything that will help to anesthetize that for a little while.
I was going to say, I have a friend that she takes care of mentally handicapped children, and Jeannie. Anyway, she was saying, let's not cross out Christmas. You know how they have the Christ and they
Xmas,
cross it out, and then they have the Mass.
Yeah, Xmas.
And I really thought about that. Then I was thinking, I have another group that's on my Facebook, and they're actually for that Krampus, that evil
Oh, Krampus?
Krampus. It's that evil Norwegian Santa and his helpers.
Don't look at me when you say that. Yeah, well, they get you either way. I mean, we had a thing on Santa Claus.
Yeah, I
and
don't
we
believe
talked
in
about
Christmas at all. It's,
it. The Christ
Yeah.
Mass, the Mass of Christ.
it's totally not right. I know, we shouldn't even go there.
That's a whole
because,
other topic, and we're out of time.
Keep your focus.
Which page and all that are we on?
We're on page 131.
Okay, 131.
The
So
next one is Rome will regain her lost supremacy.
look forward to the next one, guys, because we're going to continue these series. We're going to continue it until we go through all this stuff in these last day events. I think this is a wonderful book, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us to discuss it
I
and to
need
share
a
it.
copy of that book. So
We
I
have
can,
one at home.
do
So,
we? Because
All
I
right,
can-
folks. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tune into our Sabbath School podcast, 9 o'clock Mountain Time, every Sabbath morning. And all right, we'll see you guys next time.